This video is designed to be a healthy discussion. I am not here to attack anyone's opinion or invalidate it, because I am not about that. On the contrary, I want this to be a free space where you can discuss our opinions about the show, whether we love it, hate it, or really don't care about it. With that being said, I have a very extreme love-hate relationship for Be More Chill. I first discovered Be More Chill from a YouTuber called Musical Theatre Mash back in 2017? This was way before people were talking about the show on Tumblr. So I listened to it and it was a fun, quirky show that I enjoyed for the most part. Then it blew up. See, I was kind of excited about it. For shows like Hamilton and Heathers, I was like a little bit behind. But now I'd finally got to a show first and been there, watching it kind of grow and grow, and more and more people get excited about it. But as the years went on and I grew up and I became more well versed in different kinds of musical theatre, I kind of grew away from Be More Chill a little bit. I saw a lot more of the flaws within the show, but for the most part I ignored them because I genuinely liked parts of the show and I didn't want little problems I had ruining it. But then it got given its off-Broadway production and I was very excited. And then when it got its Broadway transfer, to say the same would be an understatement. They finally released their new cast recording and I was so excited to listen to it, and I gave up after 2 songs. See, I was very excited to see how they would improve the show as it went from obscurity to being a fan favourite. But I can pinpoint the exact second that I gave up on the cast recording, which was the second song, I Love Play Rehearsal, at 2 minutes and 41 seconds. Which is exactly when she starts making random noises. And that was enough for me. But it didn't really faze me that this new version of Be More Chill wasn't up to my tastes. I mean, I still had the OG cast recording to listen to. I didn't have to listen to the new one. And to be fair, they didn't really add too many new songs. The only one that I really listened to was Loser Geek Whatever, which I think is like the only song they added in. And even that was like too long, so I was just like, fine, I'm okay with my original cast recording. But then it transferred to London. And if you can't tell from my accent, I'm a little British boy. And I booked 2 tickets, thinking it was a new production, but it was a transfer. But as I kind of sat down and I realised what I'd done, I kind of thought, you know what, this is good. I can watch the new production and see what I think about it for myself. I wasn't just going to rely on the cast recording. I could now see their full vision in its entirety. And I'm going to be honest, I was kind of excited, but I still had that kind of voice in the back of my head that was kind of saying, maybe you won't like this, be a little bit cautious. But I'd kind of silenced it by the time I got into that theatre and saw the set. I had my slush in my cute little Be More Chill cup. I was so excited. I don't like it. Funnily enough, as the title of the video suggests, I liked it and I really hated it. Now, when I say that I like and hate it, it's more that I see a lot of potential in it, but I don't think the production quite matches that potential it can get to. I feel the production was a little bit underbaked, like it hadn't had enough workshop or time to grow for a British audience, and I'd be a little bit more forgiving of that if it was like a preview, but it was a good week after preview, so they'd already opened. Every positive I have for this production of Be More Chill comes with a but. The cast were fantastic and full of energy, but the people I wanted to see more of were barely in it. The stage design is good and the projection keeps it very sci-fi, but it never goes far enough. And the background visuals aren't as interesting when you're watching it all unfold on stage. The modern setting leads to some great moments, but in the end the show feels outdated and should really be set in the 80s. Let me explain these points in a little bit more detail. Be More Chill is the Jeremy show. I mean, he is the protagonist. When you've got a cast of very famous and well-known musical theatre actresses like Millie O'Connell and Renee Lamb, if you kind of let them fall to the wayside a little bit, it's gonna be a lot more noticeable. But I think the main thing that I kind of hold against Be More Chill is that it doesn't pass the Bechdel test. The Bechdel test is literally the bare minimum that a show has to do in like a modern world. The Bechdel test has two very easy goals to hit. Number one, you have to have two named female characters. And number two, these two female characters have to have at least one conversation in the show that is not centered around a man. This is such a simple goal to hit. I don't see how any modern show cannot get these very simple guidelines. And yet Be More Chill doesn't do it. I was watching very carefully for the entire show, just waiting for Brooke and Chloe to have one conversation that's not about Jeremy. But every single conversation is about a guy. I don't think they ever talk about anything else except past guys they've dated and Jeremy. It is like this show has been written by a teenage boy. I think the closest they get to it is towards the end of the show when they've been squibbed and they have the whole kind of, you were jealous of me, I was jealous of you. Oh my god, why are we so jealous of each other? That's them talking about each other, but still the underlining bit of that conversation is Jeremy. So it doesn't count. I think because these guidelines are so simple, it is kind of arguable if it kind of counts as a full conversation. But I say my kind of guideline to it is that it needs to feel like a decent chunk of a scene is dedicated to them not talking. If it's about 5 lines, you haven't passed. But it also comes from the fact that these actresses are barely anything to do. In the show, they have one song to kind of show themselves off. They have little other songs, but they could very easily be cut. They're like that forgettable. And when you get to it, the song is Smartphone Hour, and Renee Lamb, Renee Lamb kills it. Like, she is riffing to high heaven, and I was not enjoying the show, but I was sitting there just going, I was loving it. But then you kind of sit there and you're just thinking, I wish the whole show was like this. I wish there was more moments for them to shine and show their capability as singers and performers. And so that really annoyed me by the end of the show. It's just a show that's completely full of 2D characters and fake representation. Another thing I kind of have problems with within the show is how they kind of deal with the LGBTQ characters. Hi, Editor Daniel here. This is the section where I went into a massive rant about bi-representation in this show and how it can be improved and how it's not as progressive as it could be. But I'm going to save this for a future video. So just imagine I've said my piece on it. I've said that it could be better, and that's that. And subscribe to catch that future video. Okay, back to past me. Look at these production photos. They look pretty good, don't they? These are what got me really excited to see Be More Chill. But then when I saw these on stage, they were extremely lackluster. The show always has these kind of like sci-fi backgrounds, but I don't think that kind of fits the narrative of the show. I hate that I'm making this comparison and I hate that I'm promoting it, but I'll just say it. It should have taken a leaf out of Mean Girls' book with its projection. There, I said it. There, I said it. Oh, no, I can't. I need water. I need water. Oh. If they started the show with these more realistic set designs, and then as Jeremy takes the squib, they can kind of shift and be a little bit more technical and stuff can start twitching and maybe numbers start popping up, that could be a little bit more visually interesting. And narratively, it works a lot better too. I think the show fails with this because it is so low budget. It's got less of a budget than My Theatre Cafe, and I did that with no budget. It should have a little bit of a higher budget, or at least more of the budget should go into it. Or even just a little bit more effort. I'm thinking like Halloween, where the backdrop was literally little pumpkins on strings. Or when they're in the mall and the background is random logos. They're just placed very neatly. And I'm just thinking this could be so much more interesting to look at. Okay, I really like set design. I really do like set design. I love set design so much. I love looking at interesting sets. I talked about this in my Mean Girls video, where I say I love to look at interesting sets because they add to the atmosphere of the show. And when a set is kind of a bit or it hasn't really gone the full effort, it can take away a lot. But I will give credit where credit is due. It is a step in the right direction from the Broadway version, where a lot of their set was just like set pieces, which doesn't even give anything sci-fi. But it's still only one step, and you've got an entire marathon left to run. Be More Chill is basically an 80s fever dream. I think the thing where it comes out the most is the references and the kind of slang, especially in the opening song. This fell down, and now I'm trying to fix it. Time to change just for the continuity. James, do you know who Joe Pesci is?
No.
James, do you know who Robert De Niro is?
Ish. Heard of him?
Okay, what has he been in?
Nothing. I don't know what...
Exactly. James is about the age range for this show. He doesn't even know who these people are. So how is like a normal teenager supposed to know who these people are, or like be actively referencing them in 2020? And I think this kind of really annoys me because it's probably the easiest thing to fix. I mean, you have shows like Book of Mormon, which are constantly updated with new references, and these things can be constantly adapted and changed around to make sure it fits with the time. It's not like a film where everything is said and done. You can constantly evolve theatre because it's new every single night. So why the fuck are you still referencing Joe Pesci, an actor I only know from Home Alone? If you really want to keep these kind of references, you could just move the show to the 80s, and I feel like that would actually benefit the show more. It has that kind of 80s vibe about it, which is completely in at the moment with shows like Stranger Things. So why aren't you capitalising on it? Yeah, of course you'd lose stuff like Smartphone Hour, but that could so be easily adapted into Telephone Hour. It doesn't have to be change my profile pic to you. And anyway, that song could really do with being cut down a little bit shorter. Like, I love the riff at the end. I love my girl Renee Lamb, but it's too long. Cut it down. Or just get rid of the slang. Either way would work. Thank you, whoever wrote the book to Be More Chill. Who wrote the book to Be More Chill? Thank you, Joe Trace. Joe Trace? Joe Traz? Joe Trace.
Joe Trans.
What is up with Americans and just putting the letter Z in everything? See, I hate to be so negative about this show because I do have such a love-hate relationship for it. And it goes both ways. I really, really like a lot of the moments in the show. I love Michael in the bathroom. I think it's amazingly performed and so raw and emotional that it's just... You could do anything with that song and it'd be great. I love a lot of the instrumentals and the way it kind of uses the sci-fi influence in those instrumentals. There is so much good stuff about this show, but it is really countered by the negative stuff. But I think the analogy I have with Be More Chill is something that I got when I recently watched BoJack Horseman for the first time. In the later seasons of that show, BoJack talks about a TV show he used to watch, and it was never good, but he kept watching it because all the pieces were there to make a good show. And when it got cancelled, he was upset, not because he liked the show, but because they never quite figured it out. That is exactly how I feel about Be More Chill. Behind all this kind of lol random humour that I don't quite like, and the tacky stage design, and this, and this, and this, and this, there is a show in there that could be so good, but it just needs refining. It needed a longer workshop process. The fact that the internet is kind of saving shows is a double-edged sword, because it can do amazing things and can save amazing shows, but it also can mean that they're pushed too early, and that can lead to a lot of things not being as improved as they can be, or maybe it's being held back because of a fear of maybe something being cut and then fans getting annoyed because that thing is cut. But no matter my opinions on Be More Chill, there is a fan base for it. Just like with any other musical I dislike, like Mean Girls or Grease or Blood Brothers. I will talk about Blood Brothers one of these days because I hate it so much. There is a fan base for it, and I would never tell anyone that they can't like a show just because I don't like it. If you love Be More Chill, if you love this production of Be More Chill, that's great. Go and enjoy Be More Chill. So if you have any opinions on this, if you love the show, if you hate the show, if you're painfully average in the show, please put some opinions in the comments down below. Say what you would do differently with Be More Chill, or appreciate what they've done. Because a lot of people have sunk days and weeks and months and years of their lives into these shows, and that is nothing to scoff at. But if I had the chance to redirect and rewrite Be More Chill, I really think I would. The beauty of theatre is that we can have so many versions of these shows, and every single one can have some good in it.